Hey everybody, GW Xavier Mohr with More Memories. Hope you're all doing well. Just gonna bring you a quick video around kind of some creative ways I've been thinking about using the new Pet Love Punch that came out, which is the punch right here in the top left corner here, while also tying into the 12x12 Fast Album Formula sketches. And recently, they Creative Memories released the Roughing It collection for dog, or pet collection for dogs. However, I did not get that collection. I'm actually going to work with the Fur Baby Dog for this particular video. I just didn't necessarily pull into the colors for the Roughing It collection, and that's okay. I've got plenty of other things to use, and I have Fur Baby Dog, which I believe came out last year. No, 2023. Sorry, 2023 in Creative Memories. They also had Fur Baby Cat. And so I'm using this collection because I need to work on some pages that I have, collections for, to start using some of my stash. So I'm going to be using the Fur Baby Dog collection. I'm going to be using also the new Wooden Fence Border Punch. And I have Wildflower, which is retired, Grassland, which is retired, and Wheatfield, which is also retired. And I have them out here because they might be some alternatives that you might want to use for elements of grass that I'm going to show you in this video. The other option, there is a Border Maker cartridge BMC that is grass. It's called grass. I just don't have that particular BMC. Otherwise I would have tried it with that. But what I'm actually going to do, what I found I liked better, was actually using different decorative trimmer blades. So I'm going to be using pinking blade. My lighting doesn't really show you. That's pinking. Yeah. And I'm going to actually use the new released rhythm blade as well for that. With my 12-inch trimmer, I got a ruler because I do need to do a quick, line or two. Handy dandy pencil, adhesives, micro tip scissors, and I got my papers. So first off, just going to clear away some space. I'm going to put these aside, and we can touch on how that might look in a little bit with one of the sample cutouts I had. So in the Fast Album Formula 12x12, there's also an 8x8 one and a scrap journal size, so that's 6.75 by 10 Fast Album Formulas. And it gives us a cutting guide, additional supplies that we might need, some ideas here on the side. But then we've got some basic sketches that walk us through placement of those cuts that we make here in the cutting guide and how to arrange them on 12x12 pages. And so while I was looking through this and thinking about kind of working with the pet collection, this sketch 8 kind of jumped out at me a bit, where it seems very, very simple, where I'm taking strip A, strip B, strip C, and these could be different color or different prints of papers. These could be all cardstock with a different color each in there. And I kind of liked the idea because what I saw here was the ability or the potential to incorporate a border element in the middle here along the line of B and C. And I just kind of thought the idea of using the fence, the love punch, and creating a little bit of a pet kind of border, outside little border area would be a really neat idea. The other punch that we'll use, sorry, I forgot to have it out here, is the Pet Palace, which gives us the cutout shape of a doghouse and a dog bone. So I'm going to be using that too. But back to the sketch. So this is sketch 8. This is what I'm going to be creating for this video. And actually, instead of doing it on pages themselves or cardstock, if you like the top loading, you'd be doing this on a sheet of cardstock. If you prefer traditional pages, you can use any color traditional pages that you like. I typically go with white. But what I had thought of was, if you're not too sure of how you might use this, or you're not necessarily ready for pages, but you liked this idea and you wanted to replicate that, what you can do is turn just this section of A, B, and C into its own little border on separate paper. And that's what I'm going to be working on for this. And there's a couple of things you can do. You could do that on cardstock, scrap cardstock you could use it. What I tend to use for some of these pieces are just the front pages of designer paper packs that I have extras of. And so this is great for scrap paper if I'm testing out, a new technique with cuts or with inking, or in this case, I'm going to make a bit of a border that it's a 6-inch border, and I can store that and whip it out for the pages when I have them in the pictures that I'm working on, and place it anywhere I want on my page. So that's just one little tip. A lot of people like to use these when they have extras or they've used up a paper pack. And it's like, well, what do I do with this? You can still use it in a different way. And here's one of those ways. So what I first did was I took one of these and I cut it in half, 6 by 12 and 6 by 12. Very easy cut to make, which gave me two of these to work with. I've already adhered some strips already. I did a little pre-work for this video just to move things along a little bit. So I'm gonna put that up here, but getting all organized a bit. Okay. So the idea that I'm working with here for myself is essentially, I'm going to be using one punch out of the wooden fence, and this is on the new caramel cardstock that came out this year, 2025. I'm going to be using parakeet shimmer for the grass element, and you can see I already have some decorative cuts already, along with some of the designer papers from the Fur Baby collection. So I was playing around with this print. I didn't quite like how it was working, so it's gonna go off to the side. I wanted the blue for the doghouse, so I have my blue cut out. I liked the paper that had the words in different shades, different colors. Thought that was kind of nice. And then I liked the neutral dog bone print. So I played around a little bit and I landed on what you see in front of you with the words print on top and bottom, and in the main middle, the neutral dog bone print. And so let's check our cutting guide real quick. So on our Fast2Fab formula, it's telling us on a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, these are the cuts to make for this fast formula. Okay, you're going to make a 1-inch cut, 1 by 12, 2 1-inch cuts there. You're going to have 2 2-inch by 12 strips, and then you're going to have 2 3-inch by 12 strips. And so then flipping to sketch 8, we're using a 1-inch, a 2-inch, and a 3-inch. And so when you add 3 and 2 and 1, you get 6. And so that's why it's a 6-inch. I'm making this a 6-inch border, but this is a 6-inch stripped design here in the sketch. Okay. And so I've already pre-cut. I have my 1 inch, I have my 2 inch, and I have my 3 inch for both, because I'm going to do a 2-page layout. Then I cut out in using the wooden fence border punch. I cut out 1 strip on the caramel cardstock. Okay. Paying attention to that guide arrow here by my thumb. That is the indicator as when I'm punching through where to line up that cutout, so that way I keep getting the same pattern and I don't have spacing issues in my cut. So always look out for that guide arrow as we're punching out, and line up that arrow cutout, and you'll get the consistent punch throughout. I did pre-cut out my dog house from my Pet Palace bunch, so I have that ready to go. Next, I'm going to decide on what I want to do with my parakeet, because this is my grass element. And so just to give you a rough idea, we're going to have something looking like this, because I'm actually going to split this fence across the 2 pages. I don't want a full background with it. I just want to use it in a spot or 2. And here's my doghouse. Right, so on the left side, I'm going to have doghouse. And here is where I'm going to put that pet love punch. It's a knockout punch, so I'm going to have that be here. And then on the left side, it's going to continue over. We're going to cut another green strip soon. I'm going to have that over here with the pet love punch back here as well. And I'm going to background that with the blue cardstock. And we'll get to that in a second. So essentially, this is what I'm aiming to create in a nutshell. And I'm going to weave this green strip in a bit with the fence to kind of give a little bit more dimension with it, have a little more fun with it. So cut out that strip, 1 strip on the caramel, or you could use medium craft, you could use beige if you need to, you could use hot fudge, you could use really any brown tonal cardstock that you have, or if you like a designer paper, you could punch it out in a designer paper. Just know that the designer paper might be a little bit more thinner, and it might just be a little bit more sensitive to when we're trying to weave things. It won't necessarily hold so much than a cardstock might. You might want a different color fence. You can use any color fence you want. It's up to you. So if you want green, you want red, you want yellow, you want a blue, a teal, whatever. But sometimes I like to just go with the classic colors of what things should be. So I went with the caramel because it's a nice tonal here. So then we're going to take our parakeet shimmer, and I chose parakeet shimmer just to add an extra dimension, a little extra something. If you don't like that color combo, or you need to use a different color combo, any, CM cardstock or any cardstock you have, green, shimmery, glitter, whatever you like, will work. And so you can see I was testing out a couple of things. Here's the other side of the rhythm cut that I made for this strip. So when you take your piece of cardstock, line it up for that first cut, and I used pinking there for this first cut. Line that up, just get that edge in, and then swap out your blade to rhythm. You could also use decal, you could use wave, you could use whatever one you like that works together, whichever 2 you like that work together. And then you would cut the next strip. Now, since I did that, I've already got a cut of rhythm here already. So I don't need to keep flipping and flopping. I've already got one cut out of it. All I need to do, I can flip it if I'd like. Here's going to be my bottom edge. I can put back my pinking blade into the trimmer. And I think this cut was roughly around a 1/2 inch. So then I'm going to bring my paper up to about 1/2 inch there. Maybe, there we go. Give or take a bit. And then I'm just going to cut with my pinking blade. Now I've got another one that matches. So now I can put my green aside. I'm going to swap out, put my straight blade in, so that way I always know I've got my straight blade in there, because I've done that before, where I thought I had the straight blade in, but it was a decorative, and then I cut something, and then I cursed the world. So put my blades back, because I've used the blades that I'm going to need. I shouldn't need my trimmer again right now, because I've already cut all my other elements. So I've got my grass element here. I'm going to put that to the side. All right. The next piece is going to be cutting or punching our pet love. And so what I did was that I measured some of those lines that we're going to need to go by, because of where I'm wanting to place that pet love punch. I don't want it all the way across on both sides. I'm just using it in one spot on one side and then another spot on the opposite side. So I had to do a little measuring there of where I want this to go. And so what I did was I drew some lines after I kind of dry fit things. And what I did, so this will be the left side strip. You might be able to see it just faintly. I put faint pencil lines here to help me with guiding the paper into the punch to get it where I want it to be. So because I want it as much in the middle here as I can get it. And then on the right hand side, you can see I have another line. And from here to the furthest right, I'm going to punch that pet love out of there. Because this side is going to have the fence and the grass. So these are just guides for me to work with the pet love punch. Okay. So I'm going to zoom us in a little bit. Try and see what we're going to do. But I'm going to take my punch. I've got my guidelines. They don't exactly line up in here, but that's okay. It's giving me an idea of where I want to place this, right? If I really wanted to, what I could do, I could also make the lines on the opposite side of the paper and then feed it in that way to then see where am I going to get the punch. But in this case, that would make it upside down. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to get my guidelines somewhere in the middle there. I'm going to come straight back. And I'm just going to punch. Here I've got fairly well in that middle area there. Then I'm going to do something similar here. Here I actually am going to line up my pencil line with the guideline on the punch. And start from there. And then I'm just going to make sure I can get another one in here. It'd be very, very close if I did. So I might leave that as is for now. What we could do is kind of move it along further. After the first punch, I could have moved it a bit more, and I would have had the second love over here a little more offset. But that's okay. So maybe I might use that space for some embellishment or sticker that will also coordinate. So I've got my love punch all set there. Now I need to put the backing on first. I chose blue to pull in to coordinate a bit with the blue of the doghouse. I'm trying to think of my words. So I just need to do a quick. You could use here because it's not. Here we have enough space. I can just use regular tape. I don't need to necessarily use repo. And what we're gonna need is a 1-inch strip just to line that backing there. Actually, I am going to use repo on this one because I want to. And for these, I just use scraps of cardstock that I had. So it's a nice way to use up some scraps if you need to. So I've got that. I'm now going to take off my pencil marks. I could leave them, but I don't think I'm going to need them. So I'm going to get some adhesive on here. And I'm going to put this one Then we'll get this one situated. And I think for me, it was that I liked the Fur Baby tonals more and neutrals more than I liked the Roughing It that had a little bit more bolder colors. So for me, I tend to veer towards that more neutral and tonals than bold often, just because I like to then use bolder color options for my mattes in my photos, and to help the photos you know, stand out more or pop more. So there we go. Okay, so here we've got our double page border starting to take shape. Next part, we're going to get the fence situated. So going back to the punch options, I had mentioned grassland. This was the grassland that I had initially punched out, and I did trim it very close to the punch, because the grassland punch is a larger punch, and just for sizing and whatnot, I thought, okay, maybe we'll try this, because it's got some kind of nice breaks in here that we can weave the fence into, like so. To create a nice little effect of that. But what I ran into with this was essentially the sizing of the doghouse didn't really jive with the grassland. As you can see, it gets a little high there. To me, it just doesn't really work as well. And so you might run into that if you use grassland, if you use wheat field, or if you use wildflower. You might just kind of run into, the sizing might be a little off, but overall, that's why I went with the decorative blade trimmers, because this way I can make that strip as big or as small as I need to match best with the size of the Pet Palace punch. What I did also was that I pencil marked on the fence where I want the page break to be. So I want the fence to come across the page, the two borders, like that. Right. So this is where I'm going to start and stop. So I'm going to take one of my strips, and so I might have it start here, weave in, and right now I'm just weaving it in along the bottom posts, the little space there, and I'm just giving it, oops, see, it kind of jumps out at you, so I might like something like that. But I kind of want this to come, the fence to come down a little bit more into the grass. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my micro tip scissors. I'm gonna come in here where I'm trying to weave it in. And I'm just gonna make a quick little snip here, if I can get in there. Or maybe I'll just I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use my pencil. I'm gonna make little marks of where I wanna make the cuts. So that way, that'll be the easiest thing to do. And so I'm just gonna give snips at those pencil lines, because I just want to create a little opening that's going to help me weave this strip of green in here better. And actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this end piece off. At both ends, because it's the end piece, there we go. We'll make it look a little bit more like a fence, I think. So then I'm going to take the edge to where I have the page split happening, and then I can weave this in a little bit easier and bring that fence down a bit more. Like that. So now, one little tip or trick that I just thought of, right, while we're working with this, right, so it doesn't keep sliding around on us. If you have some tape chips, these would be helpful too. So that way we'll just flip this over. And well, that one didn't come off, did it? And you could just use some tape chips real quick, just to put right there. So that way it just helps give it a little more stability while we're working with it, and it doesn't start getting all over the place on us. Or, right, we could use some repo tape on the bottom fence posts so that as we weave it in, we can adhere it down. Okay. So what I'm now going to do, I'm going to cut my fence for the page break. I'm going to use some repo tape. I'll get here. I'm going to remove these tape chip adhesives because I can use that to help secure it down. And then I'm going to place it. And I decided I wanted to place it with the pinking cut at the top and the rhythm on the bottom. So whatever looks best to you. And then here I'm going to have my dog house. So I'm going to adhere that down. I can then erase these pencil guidelines. Here. Okay, so I got that side good. Now I'm going to grab my other sheet, my other strip, and the other part of the fence. And now I'm going to just do pretty much the same thing. I'm just going to see where do I want this to come in at and weave. Make my pencil marks with where I want to make cuts. Oh, nope, I don't want that one. I'm going to put maybe that way. There we go, that one. And then maybe I want this to come back here. Okay. Then I'll just make those cuts real quick again. So let's try using the repo tape instead of the tape chips. Tape chips. See which one we like working with better. So this would mean I need to know which ones we're going to be out versus behind the grass. So out, behind, out, behind, out. if I'm worried about, well, I want this to be as even as possible, I can just bring down the one I just did, line these up roughly, and then kind of see where I land. Yep, that looks good. So I'll press that down for the repo to stick. That seemed to work pretty good too. If I wanted to have these lay even more flat, I can repo here to get that to lay flatter. So let's get this one down. I'm going to line these up because I do want this part to be right as consistent as I can. Okay. So here we've got our border for our 2-page spread. So that I can put anywhere I want on the page. I can put it at the top with the photos down here. I can put it at the bottom and have photos up here, maybe a couple smaller photos here. I can put it right in the middle like the sketch talks about and work with photos up along here and down here or journaling. So I have quite a few options, and I can work with some more embellishments around or stickers here, maybe a bowl with some dog bones in it, maybe even a picture of my pet that I might do a cutout around and maybe put it here, or even a picture here, or a sticker of my pet's dog breed. The possibilities are pretty abundant there. So overall, I think that this was a great way to add a little extra to some of our pet pages, and a nice weaving technique using some decorative blades and a very nice neutral collection to make everything stand out. So I hope you enjoyed. Hope you get to try this one. And as always, if you have questions, reach out to your advisor, reach out to me, be happy to help. And if you're in need of any supplies, as always, you can shop with your favorite advisor through them, or you can certainly shop through me at creativememories.com/cm/gm83. Again, GW Xavier Mohr with More Memories out of Indiana, and hope you enjoyed, and happy scrapping.